As we all know, James Gunn and DC Studios have officially revealed the first chapter of the new DCU slate known as Gods and Monsters. Rather than spending an entire video breaking down all of the DCU news, I thought it'd be far more entertaining to rank all 10 projects based on their potential along with my excitement level for each project. Again, this is meant to simply have fun while talking about the new DCU slate and to ultimately find the answer to the following question: which DCU project from the new DCU slate has the most potential in the people's eyes? Before we get started, I encourage you to give your opinion on my rankings and the overall DCU slate, and to even rank the slate in the comments down below with your own measures. With that being said, let's get started with the project that I'm the least excited about. At number 10, we have DC's Creature Commandos. Like a lot of people, I don't have much to say about Creature Commandos, and it's for a reason that most people will understand. I don't know anything about these characters outside of Weasel. It's hard for me to get excited about this series considering this major factor. However, like most people, I don't need to be sold on the idea of James Gunn working on an unknown group of lovable misfits. He's done this 3 separate times now with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and The Suicide Squad. What I need to be sold on are these characters and their various personalities. What worries me the most is that unlike the rest of the projects on this list, Gunn and Safran didn't say much about the project or these characters. I do think it could have gone a long way had they spent a paragraph or two at least giving us an idea as to who these characters are or as to what these characters are like, just like they did with the Authority, which we'll get into in a bit. Now, with these things being said, I do adore the art style that they're going for. The visuals of this show are legitimately going to be breathtaking, or at least stunning enough for us to not shut up about the animation of DC's Creature Commandos. I just hope that when the marketing begins for this show, I'm far more excited for it because, like a lot of other people, I'm open to the idea of James Gunn handling yet another group of lovable misfits. At number 9, and I can't believe I'm gonna have to say this, we have the live-action Swamp Thing movie. Look, I loved the live-action Swamp Thing TV series. I did. I liked it so much that I've considered making a full video dedicated to giving the show a spotlight because not enough people talk about it or know about it, considering how it got canceled before it even aired and since it launched on DC's exclusive streaming service at the time. However, the reason I'm not excited about the Swamp Thing movie is because of the show. The Swamp Thing show worked because it had 10 1-hour-long episodes dedicated to the slow pacing that allowed the show to dive deep into its sci-fi horror story. While the idea of a live-action Swamp Thing movie is compelling, especially considering at the time of this video, Logan's director, James Mangold, is in talks to direct the movie, I don't know if it's going to work considering how much it'll need to cover within a movie's runtime. I'm fully aware that Swamp Thing can appear in other shows, movies, or DC Studios properties, considering that is the goal for DC Studios overall with their new DCU slate. But I just think Swamp Thing works so well within its show that it might not work nearly as well in a movie. It's not even because of it being live action. The live action sci-fi horror show by DC Universe at the time was phenomenal production wise. What it comes down to is, am I that excited for a Swamp Thing origin story to be explored within a movie's runtime? The answer to that, despite the amazing things said in DC's self-published article, is not really. I'm more so concerned by the idea of this than anything else, but as I mentioned with DC's Creature Commandos, all it takes is one trailer for that to change everything. This has nothing to do with not being interested in this movie or not having any excitement for this movie. It has more to do with me being concerned about how good this movie can be with how much it'll have to cover within a movie's runtime. At number 8, we have the Amanda Waller series. This show has every single thing needed for success. I love Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. I love that this show has the Doom Patrol TV show creator involved with this series. And having one of the writers for Watchmen all sounds absolutely amazing. So, what is my problem with this show? Well, Viola Davis is an absolute star in this role across the previous DC movies. I don't know if I need an Amanda Waller TV show. I know, everyone's immediate counter argument is that we all said the same thing about Peacemaker, and look at how that turned out. The difference between these two situations is that Peacemaker was an unexpected hit by all accounts. No one knew what that show would look like, and it just happened to work because the way the show blends comedic moments, over-the-top dramatic moments, and serious moments is legitimately phenomenal. More importantly, because of John Cena, who put an absurd amount of heart into the role of Peacemaker. He was an absolute star in that show. While with Amanda Waller, I wouldn't be shocked if the show ends up being far more serious of a show. DC's biggest hurdle with this show will be selling us the idea of Amanda Waller being the center of attention rather than an important side character who happens to command the attention of everyone when we're watching her. If they can overcome that hurdle and give Amanda Waller far more depth than we've seen in the past by humanizing her a bit more, I think this show will legitimately be fantastic. Plus, it should go without saying, but I need to see a Peacemaker cameo in Waller. That has to happen. At number 7, we have DC's Paradise Lost. The idea of Paradise Lost, which is making a Game of Thrones type of show that covers the origin of the Mascara, is incredibly compelling on paper. I think by doing this, DC Studios will have the ability to tinker with the new Wonder Woman's backstory, and that's a good thing. Those small or big changes can be referenced in the future when Diana is officially ushered into the DCU, and those things will play a role in her backstory. And on top of that, I understand that DC Studios probably isn't ready to cover Wonder Woman again due to the travesty that was Wonder Woman 1984. Plus, you know, they're probably still figuring out whether they want to bring back Gal or not for the role. However, I think the core reason I'm not all that excited about this is that I simply want more Wonder Woman content. I adored Wonder Woman. It was my favorite DCEU movie, and it's arguably one of my favorite superhero movies ever made. This project, despite sounding cool on paper and sounding like it'll have a big budget so it's the Saturday or Sunday night show that everyone's watching on HBO Max, along with tweeting about it, feels more like an appetizer to people who do simply want more Wonder Woman content. And for a lot of people, that'll be more than enough to get them by as we await Diana Prince's grand entrance into the DCU. But at this point in time, it's not enough for me. That's not to say that I won't be making videos about it in the future or won't be raving about it on Twitter as I watch it live. It's just that if I'm being absolutely honest, I just want more Wonder Woman content rather than Paradise Lost. Though, I'll happily take it. I think that Paradise Lost is one of the more intriguing shows considering the topics it's going to cover, and I'm interested to see how people discuss the show in general across various forms of media, whether it's tweets, videos, TikToks, or articles from the many nerd culture outlets that exist. At number 6, we have The Authorities live-action movie. Just like Creature Commandos, I don't know much about The Authority, but two things put The Authorities live-action movie this high on my list. Firstly, I've read a comic starring The Authorities, which, of course, at least gives me an idea regarding this cast of characters. Secondly, and more importantly though, I love the idea of this movie. What Gunn has said in this blog post from DC has me so damn excited for this movie. I love that it's one of Gunn's passion projects. I love that they're approaching something that seems to be a bit out of the blue, and I'm so ready for a different kind of superhero story. If there is one thing that Black Adam did right or at least I like, it's the idea of morally gray characters. And the fact that the Authority is going to go to crazy lengths, even if those extents put them in the wrong despite their intentions, as listed in Gunn's statement, legitimately excites me. Even if it sounds ridiculous or cliche to say, I'm tired of every superhero movie having a good guy and a bad guy. I know it's something we're all used to and it's necessary for the superhero formula, but I do think it's time to iterate on this formula, and this upcoming live action The Authority movie opens the door for a legitimate formula for good anti-hero movies, which we have yet to have an anti-hero movie that's good from start to finish. Plus, I'm legitimately intrigued by the idea of seeing these morally gray characters play a role in the DCU, because I can't wait to see how they balance getting their point across as they face a character like Superman who's filled with love and kindness. The push and pull between these two perspectives for a full-on movie, let alone within a TV show that features the Authority, could be really interesting. So, for me, this project is up there in terms of excitement, and I'm so excited that I plan on reading more comics surrounding the Authority to learn even more about these morally gray characters. Finally, we've reached the top 5 of the DCU slate, which means it can only go up from here. That also means that if my rankings haven't somehow pissed you off already, this next ranking is going to arguably be the most controversial in my entire list. At number 5, we have Superman Legacy. As I emphasized in multiple videos across my channel, I'm not that big of a Superman guy. I like Superman, at least in various shows like Justice League Unlimited, or Superman and Lois, but I'd be lying if I said that I'm over the moon because we're getting a new Superman movie. Yes, I'm incredibly happy that we're finally getting a movie that is going to cover a lighthearted, incredibly kind Clark Kent that represents truth, justice, and the American way. Plus, I love that it's being spearheaded by James Gunn, considering he's been so open about his excitement for this project on Twitter. That, to me, sounds amazing, and sounds like what so many people have wanted post Man of Steel. It also helps that DC listed the release date for this movie, because it at least shows that internally, they have a ton of confidence in this project. It has the recipe for success as we speak, and no, I wouldn't be mad if they had to delay this movie for whatever reason. Superman is a project that they need to get right, and they absolutely should take all of the time they need. With that being said, it's just that in comparison to the next 4 projects, my excitement levels for Superman Legacy aren't sky high. Pun intended. At number 4, we have Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. There isn't a lot for me to say about this project, admittedly, because like a lot of people, I bought this comic after this announcement. Why? It's because the story for this movie sounds incredible. I love the idea of a much harsher Supergirl that's lived on a piece of Krypton that drifted away from the planet. That alone has me signed the hell up for this movie. However, what makes me excited about this project is the fact that we're going to see 2 incredible characters, Superman and Supergirl, that are both entirely different tonally in film, TV, and even animated projects. Those 2 are going to strive for different reasons, and it'll be tied back to them being so incredibly different tonally. I can't wait to see this iteration of Kara, guys. I really can't. It also helps that we've already had such a kind and loving Supergirl with the Arrowverse, so it's not like anyone is going to be wondering, what if Supergirl was kinder like Superman? We have that answer, guys. We have several seasons of that. So that's why Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is one of my most anticipated projects of the new DCU slate. Now that we've reached the top 3, it's worth emphasizing that I am legitimately excited by every single one of these projects. For each of them, I probably won't shut up about it for the coming months, and it's because of how much I love the idea behind said projects. With that being said, starting at number 3 for our top 3, we have The Brave and the Bold. If you've gotten this far and you've never watched a single one of my videos, I've covered every single live action Batman movie. I'm the guy when it comes to having an opinion on a Batman movie, or at least trying to generate a discussion about a Batman movie related topic. Let me tell you why The Brave and the Bold is such an exciting idea. After so many years, we're finally getting the Bat family brought onto the big screen. It is about time, if you ask me. I love that DC Studios concluded that Batman with Matt Reeves serves the purpose of being what people love about Batman movies and come to expect with Batman movies. Therefore, there is no reason to repeat that with the mainline DC universe. The idea of doing something new with Batman on the big screen by finally putting him into the position of having to worry about the Bat family, deal with the Bat family, and let the Bat family eventually get their projects or standalone appearances is fantastic. That is such a great idea. The impact is going to immediately be felt considering how different of an idea it is compared to previous Batman projects, and long term it'll be felt because of the characters you're going to be introducing into the DCU, thanks to them wanting to finally bring the Bat family in the DCU. I absolutely can't wait for this movie. I don't think there's much debate about this upcoming project being at number 2, but at number 2, we have the Lantern series. What do I even need to say about this project? A terrestrial-based true detective type mystery show starring Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart? Sign me the hell up. Everything about this idea sounds incredibly cool, and I hope that the story weaving back and forth between films and shows is done right. I hope that it's done entertainingly, and I hope that it doesn't potentially ruin the overall goal with this 10-year plan. As someone who recently got into the Green Lantern comics in the last year, along with liking Green Lantern Beware My Power, I can't wait for this Lantern series. It's going to be cool as hell, and I love everything about how they've already described this live-action HBO Max series. I am there day one. When I decided what this list would look like over the last day, I knew this was going to be number 1 for me. Yeah, one could argue this was a stealth Booster Gold appreciation video, but at number 1, as if there was any debate, it's the Booster Gold live action series. I adore Booster Gold. I've been a fan of Booster Gold since the Justice League Unlimited show. After reading The Big Fall and Future Lost, I've been wanting Booster Gold to get some sort of appreciation or appearance in the DCEU. He deserves it. There is so much potential in a live action Booster Gold show, considering how ridiculous, over the top, and entertaining Booster is. The guy is magnetic when it comes to grabbing attention, and I almost guarantee that DC fans who aren't already a fan of Booster Gold will become massive fans of him when this show releases. Thank you, DC Studios. Thank you for finally making arguably the number 1 project I've wanted for the last few years. This is my number 1 most anticipated DC Studios project for all of the right reasons, and this announcement was my big, oh my god, they're doing it moment, which I'm sure a lot of people can say about other projects in the DCU slate. DC Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters is incredibly interesting. While it may concern a lot of people that there aren't a whole lot of shows or films that thematically or tonally connect the projects, there's a lot of variety, and to me, that's a good thing. I think it was absolutely important for DC Studios to launch the new DC universe with a slate that appeals to a multitude of people. They have key characters with Superman and Supergirl. They have projects starring lesser known characters that have the chance to resonate with people, such as Creature Commandos, The Authority, and Booster Gold. They're finally doing something different with a character we've seen so much of with The Brave and the Bold. Finally, they're doing things that sound cool on paper with Waller, Paradise Lost, and Swamp Thing. If I had to include one more project that I think would have given this first slate of projects an extra oomph, it'd be a Green Arrow project. That's what I think this slate could have used, considering Green Arrow would have fit with the theme of Gods and Monsters, which is seemingly to counterbalance the perspectives of morally good characters, morally bad characters, and morally great characters. As a of now, I'm happy with the DC Studio slate. There's a lot to be excited about, and all of these projects have a lot of potential because every one of these ideas is compelling. With that being said, this is my rankings for the new DCU slate, which means I have to leave you with one question. In your opinion, which new DCU project has the most potential?